Majuu, 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 Majuu. Welcome one more time to Radio Majuu. If it's Monday Majuu, and I'm your host, George Ichobi, and this is the One Voice Hour in conjunction with OVC, the One Voice Consortium, and FSC, the Food Security Consortium. And today on Radio Majuu, I have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Ikechi Agugba. If I said your name wrong, maybe you can correct me, and Issac Kagara. So we're going to start with Dr. Ikechi. Maybe you can tell me how to say your last name right so I can get it right. And then also tell us who you are, where you're joining us from, and a little bit of what you do. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, George. Yes, my name is Dr. Ikechi Agugba. You can call me Agugba, just to make it simple for you. So I'm a university professor, and I majored in agricultural economics, and I am also co-founder for AOTA, Africa Organization of Technology and Agriculture, and I'm the chair of the scientific committee for the IBMA. I am a writer. I've authored a lot of publications. I'm also regular speaker. I interface in the academia, research, and also industry. I'm the pioneer of the brain reengineering agenda, which promises an opportunity to engage youths and build up their entrepreneurial capacities. And finally, I am also a Pan-Africanist, and I'm joining from Nigeria. I'm on transit. I'm based in the UK. Thank you.
Welcome to the show one more time. And of course, I have Issac Kagara. How are you, sir? Tell us your name and where you're joining us from and what you do.
Yeah, good evening once again. Good evening from Rwanda. My name is Issac Kagara. My role is I'm the founder and president of the Africa Organization of Technology in Agriculture, and we are the organizers of the International Conference on Business Models in Agriculture. But also I run some other companies that specialize in conferences, and I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Over.
Welcome so much one more time to the show. As I say, this is Radio Majuu, the voice of diaspora, where we go #beyond diaspora. And when we go beyond diaspora, we come right back to Africa, the motherland. And I think this is what we are here to discuss about agriculture, and more importantly, food. Which is very important because nobody, I think, as far as I know, nobody can go without food yet. Maybe they're going to discover that later on. But so how do the One Voice Consortium and the Food Security Consortium collaborate to facilitate member engagement in events like the IBMA? So maybe Issac can tell us really quick about what is the IBMA and how does it address this question of...
I want to quickly begin with a background about IBMA. How did it begin? So towards the end of 2020, we had a concept. We said we really wanted to contribute something towards our country and our continent. And we looked at different sectors. One was the education sector. We looked at the medical sector, we looked at the space sector, and we also looked at the food sector. So we found that the food sector or agriculture was a sector that was cross-cutting basically amongst all other sectors. And we said that we wanted to really contribute. Sometimes you hear people doing great things, countries pushing, and sometimes you find there's also a bit of some issues, because if you go to the market, you find a mango is $5. That's quite a challenge, because if you look at how much people earn in Africa, without maybe talking about white collar jobs, it's very, very expensive. And given that Africa, we have one of the best climate soils, even if it's getting spoiled, the question was, where is the problem? Where are we facing issues? Of course, like maybe if you look at how Africa is waking up, be it young people, old people, it is that instead of complaining, what do you want to do about it? So that's when we came up with an organization called Africa Organization of Technology in Agriculture. But our major objective was not to push only technology. No, the objective was to look at what kind of models can we use to bring about food security. And that's why we laid a foundation or a platform called the International Conference on Business Models in Agriculture. And the major objective was to push the agenda of the NGO or the association, the AOTA. We said the conference would make sure that the major objective would be to monetize the agriculture sector. So basically looking at agribusiness, but agribusiness in what sense? One, looking at three sectors. We called it the African Stool Model, with some of our colleagues, including Professor Eugenie Kaitesi, who is a professor at Pretoria University in South Africa, among other colleagues. And one was to hinge on policy, because policy affects everything. The next one were to look at research, universities. We talk about young people. If you look at how many people go to school across Africa, there's been a big improvement. Meaning that if you want to make a change, you cannot disregard universities. This is a basket of knowledge. But if you ask people doing agriculture, when they graduate, where do they go? They are supposed to be in our societies making a contribution, making a change, but we don't see them. And the last one is research universities, you have policy, and the last one is business, the business community, industries. Where are they? So if you look at the three pillars, there was a disconnect. And we laid out IBMA to bring together all those sectors, and we discuss on what do we have to do step by step from about monetizing the agriculture sector. For the fourth edition now, we've been able to, if you now look at across Africa, IBMA is a very popular conference. We've united people, even people from the US, the diaspora, that have always been at our conference. So in a nutshell, this is what IBMA is all about, to monetize the agriculture sector, looking at policy, business, and research.
So we have the OVC, the One Voice Consortium, with Dr. Robert Shiori, which is bringing together organizations in the diaspora. And then we have the Food Security Consortium in Kenya that is also dealing with some of the issues that you mentioned. So how do these two organizations bring together and to influence global agricultural policies, as you have underlined under the IBMA?
Yeah, thank you. So when we formed this, the next step, which was very critical, was to have partners, because you need a consortium of minds to come together with the same spirit to continue finding solutions. So that is when we met Dr. Churi Robert, who is the president for the Food Security Consortium and the OVC. And he has really he's one man that I saw with a huge passion for Africa, and the diaspora plays a very vital role into what we do. One is that the Food Security Consortium and the OVC, they have been able to bring more knowledge, more networks across the globe. We usually say that Africa, we want to push, but there's no need of reinventing the wheel. What we need to do is to make sure that we bring the right people. And Dr. Robert has been a key player in connecting us with people. Even, for example, this interview at the Majuu radio station, thanks to the Food Security Consortium and the OVC. So this is how we are basically joining together their mission, our mission. How do we continue improving ourselves? How do we continue? For example, if I'm in Africa and Dr. Robert is in the US. What guidance or advice can he bring to us? What can we bring to them? So it is about joining together to push the same agenda of food security via the IBMA platform.
Wow, and that is a very great agenda, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the things that will emerge from this kind of partnership, because I think the brain drain, like all the expertise leaving Africa and going to the Western world, can be utilized to reverse the knowledge and bring it back to Africa to help them, especially in matters agriculture, which segues right back to Dr. Ikechi. This may be something that you can answer. So, is it the same thing when you talk about brain re-engineering? Because I think we've been whitewashed too much to think that Africa is inferior, but is actually the breadbasket of the world, and that's where most of the resources come from. So how do we, I don't know if you'll be kind enough to use the term brain re-engineering to answer this.
Thank you very much. Just to add to what the President Kagara has said, the brain re-engineering idea is all about rebranding agriculture. Over time, agriculture has been regarded as awkward, as antiquated, as weird, more or less, because the sector that has a lot of potentials to drive transformation, to unlock people from poverty, to opening up the doors for entrepreneurship and business idea and lifting up livelihoods. So the whole idea, and of course the IBMA, which is a platform for the OVC and for the FSS, so a viable option, and of course with the new dimensions with technology in agriculture, which of course presents that opportunity to them, to tell them this is a time when we need to invest in this sector for its potentials in supply chain, looking at the crops, livestock, forestry, fishery, subsectors of agriculture, and how are we monetizing? How can we monetize agriculture? How can we create an agenda for the smallholders, which are of course the major part of the agriculture sector, smallholder farmers, and then of course the upstream sector, which is the production, and also in the processing, and then coming down to the downstream. That's where the adding value. That's where monetizing agriculture for Africa. And also, how are we also getting ready to feed the entire world by the year 2050?
So the problem that I see right now, as you have well highlighted, is the young people don't think it's cool, or to go back to agriculture. That it feels like they're going back instead of progressing. But I think it's the opposite. Agriculture, I think, is the go-to right now as we progress and find ways for creating employment, because that's a big issue, especially with the youth. And this is a gold mine sitting right there. How do we exploit it, and how do we make it cool again to dabble in agriculture? Myself, I've actually started dabbling in agriculture. A couple of years ago, I went into rice and other crops. So how can AOTA support member participants in IBMA to boost knowledge exchange and implementation of new agricultural technologies?
Thank you, George.
Mm-hmm.
So I will build from what Professor Ikechi was talking about,
Mm-hmm.
the brain re-engineering,
Okay.
because I think things fail or prosper based on the mindset. And the mindset we have today has been created by two sectors. One is our families, where we come from. Second is about our education system. So the first goal is to talk about our issues. For you to be able to solve anything begins with you knowing that you have an issue, you accept it, and then you find a solution.
Exactly.
So One is we also need to also appreciate where Africa has come from and where we are today. So the majority of our countries have had independence for now over 50 years. Well, the progress hasn't been uh, equaling to the rest of the world. But if you look at today, myself, I was born in the 90s. But if I look at where I was born in today, there is a huge difference. And I want to give an example of Rwanda, a country where I come from. Rwanda has been progressing in almost all sectors. We are a small country, but if you look at from the education system, even attracting the international universities, including Oklahoma University, among others that are here in the country, there's been a big change in terms of how many people go to school, but as well as the quality of education, because it's very key. The point is not taking masses to school and people having poor education, the health sector, and etc. So one, this has impacted on our families. If you look at people in rural communities, because the majority of the people in Africa live in rural communities, even if we're having more improved, urban access. So when you have a stable family, you have electricity, you have water, you're being educated. Well, it takes time, but there's a good improvement. Then the rest is our education system. I've been seeing so many curriculums being revised because most of our curriculums are based on colonial times that have never been changed. So our job as IBMA is AOTA. Our role is to talk about such issues, create a movement, continue being a funnel of knowledge, people coming from elsewhere. And now we've started creating programs because, like, when you begin such a program, there are also so many challenges. We do not run as we wish because of financial issues, because of so many things. This is a very wide mission, but we've been able to grow. A big deal. This is why we're having such an interview. But to me, where I see us going as AOTA is that someone begins with a mantra. Maybe that's a mantra and you run with it. You hand it over to the next person. So we have created such an organization, a platform to boldly talk about such issues. We discuss about it. We bring our policy makers in the room, hoping that we are going to be even affecting policy. Bring universities. We've brought a program called a consortium of universities. So, for example, we have a big partnership with the University of Rwanda that has been very supportive. This year, we had also very good support from the University of Nairobi. We've worked with Stellenbosch University and River State University, among other so many universities. What we are doing now is that instead of you working as a solo university, why don't we form a consortium of universities and we come together? If we have financial issues, we create, for example, a fund. And when you go as a group, it's better than going as just one university. And then instead of you looking at only a university in the US, why don't we look at a university in Tanzania? Or maybe a university in Zimbabwe? Why don't we come together and first look at our issues, address them as a continent? Because solutions never usually come from outside. Solutions, we know the issues that we face, and we also know solutions, but then they have to be implemented.
Talk on that real quick and see what the historical injustices have done in terms of agriculture and food that was foisted on us. Where we are right now, obviously, we can't say just do away with the maize. We're going to have an alternative. We're going to have a healthier alternative, and we have to scale. How do we do all these things in this time? I'm sure the youth can contribute a lot, but also that's another uphill task.
Yes, thank you. What I can say is that of course, young people from the UN the UN researches that we've carried out, the programs, the projects have always given us a very green light for the young people, that the young people, their position in driving food and agricultural systems cannot be overemphasized. Now, when you talk about food and agricultural systems, we mean production, processing, distribution, and consumption. Now, their roles are very vital. And then coming back to cassava, maize, and rice, which are, those crops, which are, the most populous crops in Africa, the three most populous crops. Now, we are not even talking about livestock. We are not even talking about forestry, which has a great potential for tourism as well. And then what about the fisheries? We have the ocean, the blue economy resources. And then, of course, looking also at the issue that you have raised with respect to our degrading resources in agriculture, which, you mentioned about the GMOs. Now, this is an agenda which the IBMA, I see the IBMA as a rallying point. I'm very happy that this organization has come to be, and of course, it's a program which, of course, the Africa Organization of Technology in Agriculture is floating. It's not just floating, it has come to be, I'm telling you. And we have a lot of resources. The President, Isaac, had already mentioned about Professor Eugene Ikechi, University of Victoria. What about Professor Ifeoma Elizabeth at the University of Nigeria? What about Professor Naramabuye Francois at the University of Rwanda? What about Dr. Bongiwe Mkata at the University of Mpumalanga? And what about Professor, we have them, Dilyana from Bulgaria. We have them, not just in Africa, because this is a conversation. This is a conversation, not just, it wouldn't, we wouldn't end there. And then looking at where we are moving to, what program. I was happy to hear about the curriculum issues. We need to look into the education sector. We need to look at the stakeholders of transformation. So we have them represented. So the IBMA is not just for those in the academia, we have them also those in the government. And this is the season that we need to embrace innovation. We are talking about those who will also come with the entrepreneurial capacities. And we have not really done well in entrepreneurship. Why do we produce cocoa and still go back again to buy cocoa in form of chocolates? Have you asked yourself that? And my trip to Malaysia was, a great time for me to understand what happened to Africa, that our glory, we lost our glory, our oil palm tree. And today, the neighboring country in Southeast Asia, the Asians, we have a lot to borrow from Asia, I'm telling you. I love Asians a lot. You know why I love them? Because they are hardworking, they are serious-minded. Look at India. India is the highest producers of millets. You mentioned millets. 2 years ago, I was invited to India to speak at their International Year of Millets. And it was a great event. I'm telling you, do you know the products from millets? Oh my God. What about cassava that we have? Easy. We have a lot of derivatives. And we're talking about business models in agriculture. Diverse business models. It's not one, it's not two, it's not three. There are many. And we need to understand that the motive of the smallholder farmers. What are we doing to help? What are we doing to lift up the smallholder farmers, to advocate for their rights? And then, of course, we also have the international community. They are watching us. Are we going back to the recolonization agenda? Which, of course, that type of discussion comes in, even at the forefront of the AU's free trade area agreement. The free trade area, the African Union's free trade area agreement, which that agenda is also part of the thematic for, which we are looking at. Yeah, and of course, in this era of digitization, we must leverage on digitizing our digital platforms, securing funding and support, which of course, the president has been at the forefront of, pushing things up, seeing that, and, working with a lot with organization around. This time around, we are moving to Port Elizabeth. Port Elizabeth is in Eastern Cape province of South Africa. Unfortunately, we have 9 provinces in South Africa. Eastern Cape Province is one of them, and Port Elizabeth is a city which, at Quebec. So it's, a place where we have been to the place before, and I know it's a place habited a lot by white people, predominantly whites. And we have East London also in that area. We have Queenstown, we have Grahamstown, and all of that. So, and what are we going there to do? We are looking at the next agenda, innovation.
That is one question I would throw out there as part of the innovative ways. There are many innovative ways that we can come up to address the issues. What is one that we can move from these subsistence farmers? I have my little farm in the village. The next one has a little farm there. The next one has a little farm, and then maybe we're doing the same crop. How do we address these issues as just one of the issues that I can think about right now? Isaac.
Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, in Africa, we are comprised of now, I think, is it 55 countries?
Yes.
And each country, we have different sizes of land. I'll give an example of Rwanda. So Rwanda, like I mentioned, is a small country, which is different from, for example, Zimbabwe or maybe Nigeria. So the kind of model that Nigeria is going to use will differ from what Rwanda is going to use. Okay. And I'm now speaking this at a micro level. Maybe let me begin within, for example, the country. So the question is, a country like Rwanda, talking about food security and food sufficiency, but also which comes at prosperity. For me, I don't stop only about eating, because however much you eat, you must prosper. You must take your kids to a better school. You must live in a better house. You must be able to afford a smartphone. So for me, my point goes beyond filling your stomach, But for example, the model I would be talking about is a model that focuses on community rather than an individual. So you find the majority of farmers here, they have 1 hectare, you have maybe 4 hectares, you have even less than a hectare. So you cannot grow maybe nuts in a hectare and you say you're fighting food security. Things don't work. This is where always the government, the people, the researchers have to all come together. You don't just wake up and say, oh, I want to be a farmer. And you pick your hoe and you run and plant cassava. And you call yourself a farmer. That's not farming. That is actually misuse of land. So I have seen some very good case studies. For example, here in Rwanda, we used to have a very big issue with using outdated methods of farming. For example, maybe you have 2 hectares, you want to use a hoe. First of all, it takes a lot, labor. And we have a company that opened here in Rwanda. It's also in Kenya. It's called Hello Tractor. So, as a person who owns 1 piece of land, maybe 2 hectares, I'm not going to invest in a very expensive equipment and buy a tractor. It's very expensive. And I focus on rural communities because we are fed by rural communities. You find there's no farming in towns, even if we talk about urban farming. But how many people live in towns have farms at their houses or anywhere, It's a fancy word, but it's even 0 point something, right? And that's why I'm focusing on rural communities. People wake up in the morning, they go to their farms, they struggle, they farm and people in town come or maybe middlemen, they come and pay peanuts to farmers and they sell more expensively, or maybe do, add-ons. So Hello Tractor, what they do, they have invested in about maybe 8 tractors. and they have an application. The majority now, they have smartphones, or they can make a phone call. So what they do is that they will come and till your land at an affordable price. You just make a phone call. You say, "Hello, tractor. I'm here. I have this piece of land." They'll come and do, you know, the farming, at a very affordable price. Now, when you use a machine, for example, mechanization, you're able to do more on a big piece of land. And they have also been teaching people on how to work in communities. You see, it's something communal. There have also been programs from the government. You see, I'm talking about the government because a government is a head of a family. Things have to begin from the top going down. It has to be, you have to fight corruption. There are some governments where money will never reach, the people it's meant to help.
Yeah.
When they give money to a certain leader, it will be corruption, and it basically spoils everything. But for example, here in Rwanda, there is a program from the banks and insurance. So if you're a farmer, to encourage you to farm, sometimes you find climate change. You're a smallholder farmer, it's a community, and these farmers who have invested a lot, maybe because of the sun, there's no maybe irrigation, they have huge losses, and insurance comes in to cover the crops. They give small loans because banks are also insured by the insurance. So you find it's a very good ecosystem that enables farmers to farm by also gaining the profit. So for me, one model that I would encourage, it is a communal type of farming where people come together, not only to farm, but where people do proper research, do proper homework, and by the time they're going to implement, there is less risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Issac Kagara. If you're just joining us, this is Radio Majuu, Monday Majuu, where we go beyond the diaspora and we speak for the diaspora so that the voice of the diaspora can reach the whole wide world. www. All right, so Dr. Ikechi Agugba. I'm gonna have a problem with that but I'm working on it. And obviously Issac Kagara all the way in Rwanda. So this is very interesting. One thing that is emerging right now is like an organization like Radio Majuu. Definitely with myself, George Chobi as Radio Majuu, we'd like to encourage all other host podcasters, media fraternity to jump on this bandwagon. Like we said, it's a whole community effort. Everybody has to come together for us to move this needle. And it's a very big needle, and it is a very consequential needle, because if we don't get food right, I think all other areas like Kagara said here, are going to be very hard to move.
Majuu, 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 Majuu.